Hi, my name is Claire, and I am a junior at the Miami Valley School, and this is my second video for my AP US History class. We have just finished reading Unit 2 of the American Pageant, and so in this video I will be discussing kind of the dark side and just some common misconceptions of the time period from 1776 to 1860. I would like to start out by discussing a topic that is somewhat specific, but in my opinion, it translates to the bigger picture in encompassing the atmosphere of the entire time period, and that is the era of good feeling. Kennedy and Cohen, the authors of our textbook, defined the era of good feeling as a time period of one-party Republican rule during James Monroe's presidency. This term, however, the era of good feeling, is deceptive. Essentially, the period was a troubled one, wrought with economic issues and the crystallization of sectionalism. When contemplating this definition, I began to wonder if this not only applied to the time period of Monroe's presidency, but also to the entire section of American history in between the Revolutionary and Civil Wars. In the wake of American independence, things were not all butterflies and roses for those in charge of the new government. With the task of erecting a lasting regime, political leaders developed the Constitution, which barely made it through state legislatures. The common hatred towards England that once united the states together vanished, leaving a shaking political structure behind. Thus, gaining freedom did not solve America's problems. On the contrary, it caused a greater deal of economic, political, and social issues. The Constitution, in and of itself, could possibly be considered counter-revolutionary. Since its ratification, politicians have differed sharply over how to interpret its origins and meaning. While it has endured for over 2 centuries as the basis of American government and functions significantly better than the Articles of Confederation, it still could be considered one of the causes of the Civil War. If a different constitution had been written, American history would have most certainly taken a separate path. Issues of a smaller scale also set the stage for the Civil War. For example, westward expansion, notably the Louisiana Purchase, gave an exponential boost to sectionalism and isolationist principles. America was finally free from England and ready to focus on national rather than international issues. Had the growing country not expanded, differing opinions, needs, and constitutional interpretations may never have developed. Beginning in the early 1800s, sectional tension deepened, involving the rivalry between the slave South and the free North. In 1819, Congress's denial of admitting Missouri as a slave state enraged slaveholding Southerners, depression-cursed pioneers, and die-hard Federalists. This Tallmadge Amendment was seen as an ominous threat to sectional balance. While the North was becoming wealthier and more populated, the South had still maintained equality. The Missouri conflict was resolved with a compromise that admitted Missouri as a slave state, but also admitted Maine as a free state to keep the sectional balance. This compromise, however, was short-lived, for the issue of slavery reared its head a mere 30 years later. The emergence of a vigorous and durable two-party system from the election of 1840 stimulated the rift of ideas between the North and the South, or the Democrats and the Whigs. By the 1850s, the parties became almost exclusively sectional, debating over the issues of slavery and a strong versus weak central government. The Industrial Revolution played a major role in preparing the United States for the Civil War. Now, most people perceive the Industrial Revolution as a spectacular transformation in agricultural production, methods of transportation, and communication, which it was. But, however, many people fail to realize the disastrous effects it had on slavery and sectionalism. Most notably, the cotton gin, a device that efficiently separated the seed from the short staple cotton fiber, had a tremendous effect on the American lifestyle. Almost overnight, cotton became extremely profitable, bringing prosperity to the South. This so-called Cotton Kingdom of the South expanded westward, bringing slaves along with it. The cotton gin gave slavery a renewed lease on life and even increased the likelihood of the Civil War. The Industrial Revolution also gave each region of America its specific role in the national economy. The South manufactured cotton, the North produced textiles and other factory-made goods, while the West was known for their farmers and produce. These structures became so defined that even the new means of transportation reflected regional differences. For example, Railroads were found mainly in the factory-centered North. These rigid definitions gave each region a set of correlating political and social ideas that formed the basis of conflict for the Civil War. Thus, the Civil War shouldn't have been too big of a surprise for anyone reading the American pageant. Conflict didn't spring up out of nowhere, but was rather deeply rooted within American society from day one of their independence. Similar to the era of good feeling, the time period from 1766 to 1860 was wrought with underlying issues that developed into infamous national conflict. This makes me wonder if small problems now are actually forming into a cataclysmic national crisis that we are all just too blind to see. Thank you.